There's nothing about him that hasn't been said already. So let me just say that I am actually sitting with the most humble actor that I've actually known in all my career. And it's a privilege. Mr. Bachchan, congratulations on turning 70, sir.
Thank you very
And
much.
thank you very much for this interview. Uh, First of all, how are you feeling?
I'm fine.
There's
Just a
been this.
slight cold and cough, but otherwise okay.
All right, so now turning 70, there's been a lot of news that's going the rounds that it's going to be a huge event, and we believe that Jia ji is actually
Yeah,
the entire in charge of.
she's in charge, and I'm not supposed to know anything about it. So don't ask me for any details because I'm not aware of any of it. And this has all been planned by the family, and of course Jaya in particular.
But I'm sure that curiosity kills the cat. So are you like extremely curious to know or
Yeah, I think
intrigued
that
what is really happening?
every time you have a birthday, there is some kind of curiosity if something is being done. I am normally shied away from these events. I would rather just be, spend time with the family and be at home. And but this time, Jaya said that you're not going to stop any of us. We want to do this, so they're going ahead and doing something.
Wanted to know the era when the birthdays were celebrated with your mother and father, Babuji and Maji. Could you please share with us the memories of those times and what was it about those birthdays that were extremely special?
Right. Uh, the birthdays there were just like any other birthdays, normal people. There were friends that were called over, class fellows, other friends, uh, a children's party, games to be played, um, gifts to be had. And at that age, you're more concerned about what's coming to you as a gift than anything else. You would actually be as insolent as going up to the guests and say, "Kya laye ho hamare liye likhao," and that kind of stuff. But very normal, nothing very special. Um, Obviously, my parents were of limited means, and therefore within those means we used to have our celebrations. But I've never remembered a single moment when I've not asked my parents for something and I've not got it. Yes, there have been occasions when I've asked for maybe something that is beyond them. But even then, they used to make an effort to get it for
Would you
me. So
remember anything like that?
I asked for. I wanted to become a member of the cricket club that the school had formed, and there was an admission fee there of 2 rupees. And I went home and asked my mother for it, and she says, "I don't have 2 rupees to give you, so it's not within my budget." And I felt very distraught, and I cried over it. Then, sometime later, I asked for a box camera. You used to have that very small, and I don't know from where and how my mother collected money and finally bought me the camera. So I'm very happy with that.
So also the fact that Mr. Harivansh Rai Bachchan was one of the greatest poets that India can ever have. Um, the fact that you were his son, when did that feeling actually started gaining ground, that understanding that you belong to that kind of legacy? When did
Right.
that really happen?
At a very young age, because you suddenly realize that your father is not the average father, or he is a known personality, he is a known person, purely because of his of the reactions that we saw from people that came to the house, and from the public reactions that he created when he went out. And I used to be a part of that group that went out with him when he went out into the public. So there was always this feeling that yes, he's somebody special. And the fact that every time we were introduced as Dr. Bachchan's son, so we knew that we were uh, coming from some very special heritage.
So everybody has asked you about, your birthdays which your parents celebrated, and you've always said that, while the birthdays were very memorable, they were limited means that were there. Would you remember of the times when you had the means, and did you then celebrate the birthdays of your parents in the way that you wanted to?
Yes, later on when we were able to afford it, we used to celebrate my father's and my mother's birthday many times here, and many a times where we were in Delhi at that time. Um, and many a times we have celebrated his birthday even when he has not been there, even after his passing away, we have celebrated his birthday with great, albeit of a different kind, publishing one of his books, having an event in his honor. It's not really like, it's a relative impression that one gets. Um, when you don't have the means, then you are unable to give to your parents what you possibly could. And when you do have the means, you discover that they want nothing. They just want your presence and your company and your smile and to be able to see you in the morning and when you go to work, come back. Um, that's how life is, and that's how parents are. They desire nothing from us. All they want is whether we've had our food and don't be too late, and just the fact that we are together with them. They want nothing, and that really is a huge irony of life.
So one more question on your parents. If you had a chance to meet them, on your 70th birthday, what would you really want to tell them?
I would tell them thank you for bringing me into this world and making me what I am today. Because obviously it is their blessings that has made me what I am, whatever I am. I'm not saying I'm something very great, but whatever I am. I just feel very blessed that I had a wonderful blend of the Eastern and Western worlds at the same time. My mother came from a very affluent, aristocratic family, a Sikh family, born and brought up in now Pakistan, Lalpur, which is now Faisalabad, studied in Government College, Lahore, which was the epitome of fashion and culture, and perhaps still is. Um, and my father was, very middle class, almost lower middle class, and but she left everything and came to my father. And so, through my mother, I used to imbibe a lot of
Arts, as
the
you
arts
call.
and the cultures of perhaps a more affluent nature and more, uh, Western nature, and the very Eastern cultural, traditional aspects of uh, what uh, what was brought to me by my father. So I just feel very blessed, and that's really what I want to bless them about, that they were able to give me both these
A
worlds
blend of
together.
both.
Yeah, blend of both.
Um, Amitji, 1968-69 is when you actually started South Hindustani, 1969. If you could take me briefly through the decades, through 70s, 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
and the current time, what were the main hallmarks of those decades for you
Yeah.
in your professional life?
Well, I'd have to start off with first the application to a contest that I applied in because I felt that this was a correct way of doing it. It was the Filmfare Madhuri Talent Contest. I was rejected in the preliminaries and then just left my job, and I don't know why I just decided to join the film industry. Landed up in Mumbai.
After being rejected,
Yes, yes.
you made a resolve, that is to say, that you wanted to prove.
Not really a resolve. I just felt that I wanted to go there. Um, um,
That's a quick question. I'm just curious, sir. What did your parents say at that point of time? Because having been rejected in the
yeah.
preliminaries and you wanted
Uh,
to still go.
they just were with me all the while and said, if you really are interested in it, then you must. My father gave the example, घर में घुसना हो अगर दरवाजा बंद हो ताला लगा हो, but you still want to get in, you must jump the wall and get in. So um, I jumped the wall, came here. Uh, Abbas Saab was looking for newcomers. My brother was posted here at that point of time. He was moving around with a group of friends. A girl was one of the actors that was going to be, that had been chosen to act with Abbas Saab. She came. She told my brother that he's looking for newcomers, just out of conversation. My brother knew that I had was very keen. He was the one that actually put me on this contest. He was the one that brought this contest to me. And I just gave my photograph in. Abbas Saab called me. I went through a preliminary interview with him and I got selected. But after that, then, that was the first film with Abbas Saab. We had a very enjoyable time. Abbas Saab was a very a socialistic-minded human being in his stories, in his living, in his thoughts, in his processing. Um, we learnt everything the hard way. When we traveled third class, slept on the floor, on locations in government guest houses. And that was a wonderful experience because all of us were together. Made some wonderful friends there. Amar Ali, who is still my friend, and we spent a lot of time together. And then I went into working in some other films which didn't do well, almost on the point of rejection, going back home again when Zanjeer came with Salim Saab and Javed Saab brought to me, and Prakash Mehra. Uh, and then with its success came so many other things. But all along there was always Rishikesh Mukherjee who kept taking me in his films, whether it was Anand or Mili or Abhiman or um, then Manmohan Desai, Prakash Mehra, and the wonderful films that we did together, Amar Akbar Anthony, Muqaddar Ka Sikandar, Sharabi, um, with Yash Kabhi Kabhi, and of course Diwar, which he directed, with Ramesh Sippy Sholay. And that entire phase, right to the time when we finished that generation and went into the next, which was Mukul Anand and Tinu Anand and Agnipath and Shahin Shah, and these wonderful films were made. And thereafter, the next decade of Karan Johar and Aditya Chopra and Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, Mohabbatein, all these films happened. And then subsequently into times now where I've had the privilege of working with Sanjay Leela Bhansali in Black, with some fresh faces and fresh new thought directors. R. Balki, who did Chini Kam and Pa with me. Um, and now looking forward to working with some new talent. I worked with Prakash Jha for the first time, worked with Sujoy for the first time, and hopefully we'll be probably doing another film together.
विजय, दीनानाथ, जॉन, पुराना।
आज मेरे पास बिल्डिंग है, प्रॉपर्टी है, बैंक बैलेंस है, बंगला है, गाड़ी है, क्या है तुम्हारे पास?
मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता। तुम लोग मुझे ढूंढ रहे हो और मैं तुम्हारा यहाँ इंतजार कर रहा हूँ।
This is how it's been.
Also wanted to ask you at that point of time, after Saath Hindustani, there were a series of flops, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
What really kept you going during that point of time?
I don't know. I guess your keenness to actually get an opportunity to work. We were unaware of what the requirements were for success. We were just sure of the fact that given a particular scene, given a particular moment, we may be able to enact it. But whether that enactment was going to bring us success was unknown to us. So we relied more on people like Prakash Mehra, Manmohan Desai, Yash Chopra, Ramesh Sippy, and Salim Javed, who wrote fantastic scripts, to guide us in that direction. And happily, that happened. But on our own, I was never able to do that. So that period of not knowing what is going to happen to you, or being thrown out of films because you were not acceptable or not commercially acceptable, the films that were released not having any kind of box office content at all, were somewhat depressive. But the desire was to continue working, and had it not worked out, yes, there was always that fear of, packing your bags and going back. But
Amirji, there was also time, in late 80s when things were not going too well, also in the 90s. And at that point of time, what was it that made you continue? And how did your family rally around you at that point of time?
Sometime in the 90s, I just was advised that you need not work again. And you're secure enough to, be okay. So I took a sabbatical and went off, and traveled a lot, and was by myself doing nothing. I think that was an error. I think that I should never have left, the film industry or the thought that I'm now away from it. One must continue working. And when I came back, I started off something new, which went into a lot of financial difficulties. So there were many problems that were loaded on at approximately the same time. The non-success of cinema, not having any films, uh, starting a venture which has gone into financial crisis, um, and those difficult times. Parents were always very sympathetic, uh, always very supportive, and said everything would work out fine. But eventually, it's the individual person himself that has to take that final decision as to what he has to do. It's all right you get support from outside, but eventually it's your own desire, your will, or whatever you call it. And I just sat back one morning and said, what do I do best, or what do I know best is I can go in front of a camera and act. So I walked across from my house to Yash Chopra's house, and I said, I need a job, and he gave me Mohammed. And then, things started happening. Then I got KBC from Star TV. I thought that was an interesting project. I took it on, and things improved after that.
Is it that whole feeling wherein you felt that you had made an error, that you shouldn't have gone? Is it that also probably somewhere at the back of your mind as you continue to work even at this time, in this age?
Uh, that's an interesting question. I think if you, well, I think I'd personally look at it this way, that if I've been through a particular trauma which has been devastating, then you always wish never to be in that state again. And it's quite possible that you want to continue working because you feel that, anything can go wrong at any time. And you don't want that to happen. And if that does happen, then you don't want to be entirely caught with in a very, very negative situation. So, um, in a sense, I would say yes. I just continue working because uh, rejection of work means, that you're thinking that you're satisfied or that you've had enough. I think artists should never have enough. Um, I'm talking about creativity, of course, and they should continue working. And I felt that those years when I did not work, I lost a lot more than I expected to. But I think that it was a great gainer for me as far as a learning graph, and which I now continue to practice.
Couple of
As
questions more, Amitji. In one of the old clips, Jayaji spoke about, how she thanked you during the Lifetime Achievement Award that you gave her own home. How would you really want to sum up your relationship, and what would you really want to thank her for the most?
yeah. Thank her most for giving me the two most beautiful gifts that any person can have, my children, Abhishek and Shweta. Yes, Jaya gives me a home, which is really her home. She has built this. She runs it. She constructs it. She um, uh, looks into every part of it. That's that's her biggest pride, and that's how I feel about homes, about wives, about Jaya,
Um,
what she's given me.
Amajay, you are known for your friendships actually, but there is something that's actually been coming out in print recently with Mr. Amar Singh being a little unhappy and accusing you of having done wrong to them. How does it hurt, or how do you really negotiate with such
No,
a
I
thing?
don't think that there's anything like that. He's still a friend of mine, and I will always respect that.
Last question, Amajay. You are at an age where you have your grandchildren. You've always said that, you couldn't be with your kids at that point of time, when they were growing up because you were working. One advice that you think as a grandfather that you would want to give, to the grandchildren and children of their generation, and also one advice to people of your age who may feel neglected or deprived due to whatever reasons.
Well, I can't say really, but to my grandchild, I will try and give her the best that I can, give her whatever I've learned from my father, um, bring her up in as comfortable and as as honorable a manner that I can. My advice, I don't know. I'm not capable of giving any advice, but I just feel that I think you need to be occupied. You need to carry on working and keep your brain occupied. It's always very essential to keep doing something all the time, even if you're just reading a book or writing or going some places or visiting a different country or as a tourist or whatever it may be. It's important to keep active. I think it's very necessary for people at our age to be doing that, and I'm sure that that can be very fruitful.
And it's been a fulfilling life so far.
Yes, fulfilling in many respects, but I would, as I said earlier, I would never say that satisfied, because as a creative artist, one should never be completely satisfied.
Well, I wish you, the artist in you, always stays hungry, Mr. Bachchan. Thank you so much. So that was Mr. Bachchan saying that the artist in him would want to stay hungry and would never be satisfied. Well said. This is Lada Singh signing off at Lines Today.